studios. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Good morning once again. Thank you for keeping it on UBC TV. Welcome back from Weather and Nature. And thank you for those messages. Keep them coming in every segment, whatever that we are discussing. Feel free to send in your comment, your question. And this should not be any different when we come to this segment. That is the Good Morning Uganda agenda. Today we are looking at updates on vaccination and all questions regarding vaccines. So get ready to send in your questions to the expert I'm hosting this morning. Once again, I'm Robert Kirabo, Nyonyintono. And like I told you, one of the safest ways that the world is moving towards is vaccination against COVID-19 to ensure that we fight severe illness, hospitalization, and death. And Uganda, like many countries are doing, this is what we are moving. That's the direction we are heading to. However, there are a number of challenges. And today with me in studios, I'm privileged to have Dr.Ampeire Immaculate, who is the Senior Medical Officer, Ministry of Health, in charge of, that is, immunization and vaccination. Doctor, you're most welcome to our studios this morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Kirabo. Good morning, viewers. We are privileged to be here to speak to you this morning about the vaccination rollout in the country that was launched on 10th March 2021.
Doctor, you've talked about March 2021, and we know as a country we are targeting about 22 million Ugandans to be vaccinated. Let's begin by looking at how the road has been. How far have we been able to achieve? How many have been vaccinated? And then later we shall look at maybe challenges and other issues regarding vaccination as well.
Okay, so to date, since the launch of the COVID-19 vaccination as a response that the country undertook in addition to the existing activities, we have deployed about 2 million doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine in all districts since the 10th of March. And since the launch, for the last 6 months, we've been targeting the highest risk or priority groups. And this includes the health workers, the teachers, security personnel, persons above 50, and adults with comorbidities or underlying medical conditions that put them at an added risk to contracting the COVID-19 or at risk of severe disease and death. So as of date, we have reached, for the health workers, we have reached 68% with the first dose. The security, we've reached 58% with the first dose. Teachers have reached 33%. And the persons above 50, we've only reached 12% of the people that we had targeted, of 3 million persons above 50. And we've only touched 5% of adults with underlying medical conditions. So we've just, it's a pinch. So that's about almost 21% of the initial 4.7 million persons at highest risk. So the journey has just begun, and this leaves a lot to be desired. So this was done particularly to secure the essential and critical services in the country, to allow for continuity of essential services within the health system, to maintain security in the country, and also for the teachers to allow for possible reopening of schools and learning institutions. And of course, for the persons above 50 who have been seen to be the highest proportions of persons that are hospitalized or have died in the last 1 year. So there is need for us really to be vigilant, and the country, the good news is that we have a vaccine now, and the country has plans to roll out these vaccines in a phased manner due to the limited global stock of the vaccine, as we are all aware.
Well, Doctor, you've given us how we are doing as a country, and about 21% is still very low. Could we attribute this to scarcity of the vaccines, or maybe it could be that people are not embracing it most in rural areas, that could be as it should be, or it is seemingly in the urban centers?
It's both. initially, when we got the vaccine, there was a bit of hesitance. People had not seen the burden and the deaths resulting from this severe disease in the initial 3 months. But during the second wave, we had a lot of turn-up from the population and the masses. You know, people believe by seeing, and I think the perception changed, and people demanded for the vaccines. But also logistics contribute to the low uptake in terms of availability and how the services reach the people at the service points. But by and large, following the second wave, we observed a high turn-up from the masses, but also we are still having bits of logistical challenges on the ground and mobilization of masses on where to go. People are still asking, where do we go for the vaccine, you know? And also, of course, when they reached, the vaccine is getting
So what is the rollout plan like? Because like you said, people are asking now, we know there's vaccination exercise going on, and many we are seeing teachers. So if I'm among the priority groups, do I go to these vaccination centers? Is it only specifically now for teachers? If a teacher went to a vaccination center, which is not at a school point, do they get vaccinated? We've seen so much of bouncing people back. So what is the rollout plan?
The rollout plan is like other health services, Mr. Kirabo. These vaccines are being deployed and provided in a decentralized manner. So the Ministry of Health provides the vaccines to the districts, and the districts have designated vaccination points to reach these high priority groups due to limited stock. And these people have been targeted since March. We've been singing the same, health workers, teachers. So there is need for everyone to reach their district health office to ask your school, if you're a teacher, ask the head teacher. The head teacher should also be in touch with the health department through his DEO. Districts have designated vaccination points for teachers this time around to mop up and accelerate the vaccination of teachers so that we don't become a reason for delayed opening of schools when it comes to the adult section. So the deployment of the vaccine is phased due to limited stock, and phase 1 is initial the high priority groups that we've been talking, and that which we want to really close and eventually open up for phase 2, who are other persons, all of us are at risk, other persons above 18. And these vaccination points are within the districts, so the districts should have announced that vaccination is going on site here for this number of days. And we're encouraging districts to vaccinate in a short time so that we can free the health facilities to do other work, not to protract and also in the pandemic you have to vaccinate and get out, not to keep vaccinating as routine when you feel like coming. So some of them come late and the vaccine is done. Yeah.
Let's also look at availability of the vaccine. Recently, we've not been receiving so much. If only we were to look at the teachers, for example, maybe you have about 550,000 teachers, but the ministry is looking at about 300,000 teachers to be vaccinated. This still leaves a gap. So how available is the vaccine as we push for go for vaccination? Do we have enough in stock? Do we have clear hopes that yes, Ugandans, these priorities are going to be dealt with, then you go to phase 2?
Yes, looking at we've received about 2 million doses, and we're targeting 4.7 million of the high priority groups. So that is about at least half of the people with first dose. But for the teachers, we have received recently the Sinovac vaccine, 300,000 doses, just targeting teachers and to be provided at school-based outreaches so that we can accelerate reaching these teachers to allow for opening of schools and other discussions to go on. And also we expect additional vaccines in the pipeline. We expect about 9 million doses through the African Union of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. This will also keep trickling in and coming in tranches. Not the 9 million will come in at once. And also we expect about 18 million doses of the also Sinopharm vaccine through the Gavi COVAX facility. And for now, we also already started consuming the 9 million. This 2 million I'm talking about is part of the COVAX donations through the Gavi support. So there's a lot of commitment in terms of securing of vaccines. This has been done, and we're in high gear to really come down there to roll out and reach the public even beyond the high priority groups. So we are calling upon the health workers, teachers. We cannot wait for you for 2 years. We've given you 3 months, really. At least get your first shot, because it's going to be first come, first serve. When there are limited resources, we really need to run and consume these resources so that we can achieve the intention of the vaccination response. It was to preserve the health system. It was to minimize morbidity and death. And if we keep dilly-dallying, even with this limited vaccine, we might not achieve the intentions or the objectives that this vaccination response was meant to achieve.
Dr. Immaculate, let's look at how prepared as the ministry. The fact is, yes, vaccines could be available, but also I've visited a couple of vaccination centers. Yesterday I visited Wachiso. The other day I was in, former Minister Media Chamberlain's constituency. And what I found that is there's a huge turn-up, but then the people to carry out the job are very, very minimal and thin on ground. So much as teachers are yearning to get the vaccination, you don't have enough personnel on ground. How are you going to do this? And it seems, teachers were telling me that yes, this cannot go on forever, and you've already that fact. We are going to reach a point and we just say, yes, priority group teachers, enough is enough. If you've not been vaccinated, you've been left out.
Yeah, that is noted, but you know, implementation at service delivery, the issue is planning. Because unfortunately, I think distribution happened last week from the national medical stores, and Sinovac being a new vaccine, we really insisted on first training the districts before they could deploy the vaccine. So that could have been many of the challenges. So districts had not sat down to start distributing and designating the school-based outreaches beyond what they were initially implementing. But we are saying, if you're a teacher, if any person, you can go to even the previous designated point and get your second dose. And then for now, let the DEOs collaborate with the district health teams. It's about really the district task forces, realizing that this is part of the response interventions and getting the teams and partners on board to plan and allocate sites so that the stock in the districts can be consumed by the targeted groups. So it is more of logistical planning and the strength of our implementation team on the ground. And this is why this also trickles to routine immunization. We are seeing a number of children have not been immunized over the years due to those systemic challenges within the health system. And we are hoping that with this COVID limelight, all these things will be exposed to district task forces to really highlight and address with their district health teams and partners on the ground. And also the media to put people on spot. In terms, because service delivery is, we need to establish an accountability framework for us to demand.
So if I go to Maokota, I see these challenges, expose them,
yes.
Create at least create an environment where people can be held accountable.
You actually supposed to visit the cow and say, sir, we have observed this, so that we can demand from government and also hold the officers on the ground accountable for service provision. It is for all of us to be in this, as to demand as a population and partake of the services, because this vaccine is rare, it's expensive. We have lost so much to the pandemic, and there is need to harness the little that we have, in addition to the existing standard operating procedures to ensure that we protect the population, protect our economy, our health system, and preserve our lives as citizens.
Well, away from, yes, go and take the vaccine, Dr. Immaculate, there are a couple of questions that are in the mind. You know, for medicine or for any form of treatment or vaccination, psychological preparation is very important. Sensitization and information. Now we have, we are used to AstraZeneca. We are hearing of Johnson & Johnson coming. That one from Sinopharm is also around here. So let's look at some of these disturbing questions. First and foremost, how safe are these vaccines? Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Kirabo, for that pertinent question. We know that that is a key concern from the public. But vaccination is not a new intervention in public health arena, and has been proved to be one of the most cost-effective interventions in public health. However, we appreciate the concerns of vaccine, and we know that vaccines, like all pharmaceutical products, are not 100% free of side effects. We expect pain on the site of the injection. We expect a mild swelling, redness. Some may get a fever or general body weakness. But we know that all these wane within 24 hours. They disappear within 24 hours, and you go on with your life. And this is about 50% may get that. But, and we still say that the benefit of getting the vaccination outweighs this risk. Because what we think and what we see and fear, the severe side effects are very rare. And in most times, because we are already targeting people with comorbidities, people with underlying, they already have their issues. So most of them are coincidental, most of them are programmatic in terms of how the service has been provided and handled on the ground. So I want to assure us that these vaccines are all comparable in terms of efficacy. They have passed the World Health Organization mark of being 50% efficacious in a pandemic situation. And in terms of safety, they have been proved, and over 5.6 million doses have been deployed worldwide. And people have seen the impact reduction in disease spread and prevention of disease acquisition. So there is need to join the rest of the world and partake of this technology in this hopeless state. What else is there for us to do to protect our population when these interventions? So the vaccine is safe, it is free, and it is available within all districts of Uganda. Let us liaise with our district health officers, get the information, and ensure that we do what is in our means. You know, a pandemic you cannot control, but you can control your behavior. You're not putting on a mask
Relying on social distancing.
and your national television. So you're speaking, you know, because you don't take a chance. What you are is just that life that you have. Everything else is nothing. So that is the engine of your life. This is all you are. So there is need to take my life seriously through SOPs, because vaccination is not the only magic bullet to manage this pandemic and survival. So there is need to wear our mask, sanitize, hand washing, social distance like I'm doing for Mr. Kirabo, and please get your vaccine if you're targeted for now or when we call upon you to get the vaccine.
Getting your vaccine, we have people that got their first dose. They may not be among the priority groups, but they got their first doses, because I know a number of people. What is their fate now? In case you're within the timeline of getting your second dose, I may not be a teacher, I may not be a health worker, I may not be security personnel, or even a person with comorbidities. So what are we doing at such a time? Because there is vaccination, do they automatically qualify to go to these centers and get their second dose?
Yes, we really want to appreciate the vigilance of those people that came, because they helped us also to address the issue of vaccine wastage. Because you know the vial or the bottle of the vaccine has about 10 doses, and you'd find when you have 6 elderly people and no one else. So if a chance there was an adult eligible, he got his shot. Okay, so and we really want to welcome that initiative, and also that if you have your vaccination card, please go back to your facility where you got the first dose, and you'll be given your second dose. Because the AstraZeneca vaccine now in the field, actually, we are targeting people who have reached 12 weeks from their first dose. If you have reached your 12 weeks from your first dose, please go back to the health facility or any vaccination site with the vaccine, show your card, and please get your second dose of the vaccine. So they are still welcome to come. Then
now when we have the Sinovac and Johnson & Johnson, is it all about, do we still get first and second dose? Is it about one dose per these? If a person got AstraZeneca, do I have to get AstraZeneca? What is it? Let's throw more information. These may be simple things, but actually anything doing with health, clarity is very important.
I appreciate that question. So all the vaccines, most of them are 2-dose schedule. You have a 2-dose schedule: Sinovac, Pfizer, Moderna, Sinopharm, and the Sinovac in the field. All those require 2 doses to be fully immunized, except for the Johnson & Johnson vaccine where a single dose will provide you full vaccination. So for Uganda, we are saying that we should not do the mix and match where you get AstraZeneca first dose and get Sinovac. We don't have capacity, and we don't want to start adding the safety concerns on an already burdened health system. So we are encouraging that we have 1 vaccine for each person and not 2 for now, as we wait for more data and more literature on countries that have had this mix and match scenario. So we are encouraging, if you got AstraZeneca as first dose, please get AstraZeneca vaccine as your second dose. And that's the guidance we have given your health workers. Go with your card so they can be able to know which vaccine you're due for second dose. Thank you.
Well, I want to remind our viewers that you can send in your question to the number on your screen through our WhatsApp and our various social media platforms. So please send that message. Just give us your name and where you're watching from, so that we know who we are communicating with. Keep them coming, and Dr. Immaculate Immaculate will be able to respond to some of their concerns. We are looking at update on COVID-19 vaccination and questions related to vaccines and vaccination in this country. Remember, this is one of the best ways to fight, that is severe illness and death. The hospitalization burden of our country, we can save it only when you go and you get vaccinated. Priority groups, yes. I love the word of Dr. Immaculate when she said, we cannot wait for 2 years for teachers, because at every opportunity we've gotten vaccines, you're a priority group. Now there is a call, go and get vaccinated so that we can reopen schools. But doctor, what happens to the children? Much as we are prioritizing teachers, we have those ages 12 and below, we have those before 18 years. When you vaccinate teachers from the health perspective, what happens then to the students?
So we know that everyone is susceptible to getting the COVID-19 infection. But looking at our data, it is mostly adults that have been affected, especially the people above 50 years, looking at our data as a country. And also, children can get the infection. And you've seen like the majority, they will be asymptomatic, or it will pass on like a simple, common cold. But if it infects the teacher, the grandmother, the parent, that person is most likely to be hospitalized or to get severe disease. So that's why the objective of the vaccination is targeting severe disease and death. Not necessarily, it has the ability to prevent infection, but for now, due to the limited stock, we're targeting that limited objective. So children are vulnerable, but we are saying, please let them keep at home for now. Let's vaccinate the vulnerable, those who have been seen to be more at risk of severe disease, and that's the teachers and their parents and their grandparents. As we get more evidence from the studies, because the only vaccine that has been seen to be used among children starting from the age of 12 and above is the Pfizer vaccine. So that is why, and for now we don't have the vaccine in the country, but in phase 3, beyond the opening up to all the adults, we might consider also reaching out to children as part also of the general population in the long run. So it is more of the evidence of safety among children in the vaccines available, and also the limited stock targeting the people at highest risk of severe disease and death.
Now let me read some of the messages that are coming on through our WhatsApp number. Good morning, this is Derek Kiranga from Kisoro. But how do you tell people to go and get vaccinated when vaccines are not even available? Thank you. That is a message coming in from Derek.
Thank you, Eric. We have the vaccine in Kisoro. You need really to check with your districts and demand for them to publish the list of facilities where this vaccine are. But from the Ministry of Health perspective, Derek, all the districts have received vaccines. It is the issue of awareness creation in the districts, people knowing the sites, because we know we vaccinated health workers and teachers in Kisoro.
Then also we have, hello, this is Andrew watching from Kabera Maido in eastern Uganda. Which age is allowed to be vaccinated?
For now, it is persons above 18, they are health workers, security personnel, and persons above 50. And persons above 18 with any underlying medical conditions, diabetes, hypertension, cancer, and any other medical condition that puts them at higher risk of contracting the COVID-19 disease. So anyone above 18 is eligible, but the priority is for the highest priority groups or high-risk groups that have been mentioned.
Then we have, this is Shadrach, who says, thank you, presenter. I have issues with vaccination. Some of us got our first jab on the 31st of April. Do we still qualify for the second jab to start afresh? Help, I know we are many. My name is Shadrach.
Oh, thank you, Shadrach, and thank you for sharing that concern, which is affecting many people. It is not too late. You can go to any nearest health facility or where you got your first jab and get your second shot. So it's not too late. And actually, they say the longer, towards the 12 weeks, that is when the efficacy of the vaccine is higher.
Okay. Still messages coming in. Here we have, good morning, Uganda team. I'm watching from Fort Potro. Thank you so much. Then I think government has to ensure that ensure to vaccinate all, both teachers and the learners, and at the same time to start up the opening of schools. Thank you, but you didn't leave a name.
Thank you. So we cannot vaccinate all the learners because of limited vaccines. But after opening up above 18, maybe the older learners, 18 years and above, through tertiary institutions, maybe secondary schools will be targeted. But for now, we are phasing. Even beyond the high-risk groups, we might do phasing by age because of the limited vaccine. Like someone has asked, why do you create demand when you have limited vaccine? And that is why the demand is being phased. High priority, then maybe next we shall say 40 years and above, because the vaccine is limited. So we are also suffering the risk of creating high demand with limited logistics in the field. So that is why we keep phasing and prioritizing and not calling everyone to come and create stampede at the health facilities.
We have Livingstone. He says, good morning, UBC. This is Livingstone. I'd like to know vaccination points. But Livingstone, we don't know where you're watching from, but Dr. Immaculate will respond to that as well.
Thank you, Livingstone. Please, we encourage all Ugandans to reach or ask your district health officers or call any person in the district for the announcement on the designated vaccination site in the districts for you to be able to take your parents, yourselves, and persons with comorbidities above 18 years. So please, this vaccination, like others for routine, are happening in health facilities. You can actually even consult the facility providing routine immunization against polio. These people have the same information concerning COVID-19 and most likely have the vaccine for COVID, because we are building on the existing system to also administer the COVID-19 vaccine.
Then another message. Good morning, Uganda. Please, suppose I got a jab for yellow fever. How long should I take to get a COVID-19 jab? That is Sergeant Bernard.
We are saying the interval between COVID-19 and other vaccines should be at least 4 weeks. That's the interval we usually use for other vaccines. So wait for 4 weeks and then you can get your COVID-19 beyond yellow fever and any other vaccine that you could have received.
Well, I want to thank you so much for sending in those messages, Sergeant Bernard, also Derek Kiringwila from Kisoro, and many others. Thank you for sending in those messages. Time is not so much on our side. Dr. Immaculate, allow me get your final remarks regarding vaccination and the rollout for a country.
First of all, I want to thank you, Mr. Kirabo, for hosting us and giving us the opportunity to speak to the masses and Ugandans about the COVID-19 pandemic. So we are saying the pandemic is here with us. We have seen what it has done to us and our children, and there is need to come up in arms and ensure that we fight back. COVID should not rob us of everything. Let us put on our masks, let us sanitize, wash our hands, avoid unnecessary public gatherings and movements, please. Wherever you have your mother, your grandmother, please take responsibility and get the information where they can acquire the vaccines from the nearest health facility or from your district health officer and take this for vaccines. Everyone is in the plan. We are coming for you. Please be vigilant and come as you be called upon to partake of your vaccine when it comes to our turn. I thank you.
Well, I want to thank you so much, Dr.Ampeire Immaculate. That is a senior medical officer, Ministry of Health in charge of immunization and vaccines, for having found time this morning and been with us. And of course, the vaccines, there is so much hope that the vaccines are going to be available for all Ugandans. And they are safe and free of charge. Safe and free of charge. Very importantly, do not be conned, but also do not forge vaccination certificates. Yesterday, the Ministry of Education and Sports warned teachers against any attempt to forge these vaccination cards or vaccination certificates. Stay safe. Vaccination will only protect you against hospitalization, death, or severe illness, but not contracting COVID-19. So the best way is to ensure that you're both vaccinated and respect or follow to the letter the standing operating procedures. Have a good day. God bless you.